at the near end of the film, we kind of get a little flashback when Godzilla fought Ghidorah in the ocean. Godzilla managed to rip off two of the heads. While he was struggling with the third head, the other two heads were managed to regenerate. Eventually, heisei Goji was managed to rip off the third head before the Oxygen Destroyer hit him. And just like at the end of the film, when the people who released Ghidorah in the first place end up buying all three of the heads. Now we move on to Godzilla Dominion. Godzilla Dominion is going to be very different than how it is in Legendary Godzilla's around. Because when we start our Godzilla Dominion, we see that Godzilla is heading towards Skila, but not in the way that we think he's going to. Instead, he's going to see what's going on and challenge Skila for the nuke that she clearly wants. Instead of just stopping her not letting her have it, heisei Goji is going to take it for himself. Like any modern day animal would do today, they would fight over carcasses. Except in this scenario, these two kaiju are fighting for a nuke to feed on. Just like in the comic book, Godzilla would clearly be the victor. And, of course, Skila would retreat, just like in canon. This wouldn't mean that Godzilla is done yet. He's patrolling the planet for a reason, and that's being to see how all the other kaiju are doing. And to see if he can rather find new kaiju and get them to submit to him as the alpha, or possibly find a city that he can destroy. Godzilla is still looking for a temporary territory. Well, not temporary. He's still looking for a territory. At the same time, heisei Goji then encounters Behemoth's battle with Amalok. And even though heisei Goji does not have the same, role that Legendary Godzilla has, he does know that Behemoth plays a part in nature. So he, just like Legendary Godzilla, he would choose Behemoth to be the sole ruler of the Amazons. Except when Godzilla grabs Amalok and tosses him aside, instead of roaring, heisei Godzilla just glares at him. He just gives a intimidating glare. They're at Amalok, and Amalok retreats. Eventually, Heisei Goji does find Atlantis, or the civilization that was seen in King of the Monsters. Godzilla claims the new area as his official territory, well, a part of it. However, he does encounter the murder fish swarm, or whatever they are. Sorry about that. Anyways, Godzilla will continue to fight the murder fish swarm, or whatever, until he encounters the big one. When he encounters the big one, instead of killing it and tossing it back into the hollow earth, Godzilla takes the carcass and claims it as, well, kills the giant murder fish, or whatever it is. And just kind of takes the carcass and leaves it as territory. Before Godzilla starts eating his kill, he then hears something. He then decides to go check it out. And discovers that Nakika is in trouble. Heisei Goji, just like Legendary Godzilla, does free Nakika from her cage. But at the same time, he notices all the dead whales, squid, etc. He notices it all and doesn't really like it. He decides to go on full-on attack mode on the humans. The humans were completely disrespecting nature. Not only that, but they weren't even eating the food. Normally, organisms will kill just to survive. Predators kill in order to stay alive, and Godzilla knows that. So instead of attacking the oil platform, Heisei Goji takes it a step further. And goes to destroy the cities. A few cities in order to get the message across. Before he could continue, Mothra shows up and tries to convince him to calm down. However, it's not working. Godzilla tries to tell her to move out of the way, but she refuses, and so the two of them fight. The fight lasts for a few minutes. Until eventually, Godzilla eventually gains the upper hand by severely injuring Mothra. She retreats, and it's in order to stay alive. Even though monsterverse Godzilla was able to achieve a symbiotic relationship with Heisei Mothra, Heisei Goji does not achieve that similar symbiotic relationship. Instead, there's a sort of rivalry between them. Eventually, Godzilla does fight Tiamat and discovers a new territory. After Heisei Goji defeats Tiamat and gets her to submit to him, she leaves the territory for him. Before Heisei Goji can go and get his kill, he then sees the ancient cave paintings on the walls. With his curiosity growing the better of him, and this area being completely new to him, he decides to explore it for a bit. Heisei Goji sees a statue of some weird-looking kaiju and doesn't quite know what it is. He then decides to push it aside. Well, not really pushing it, but he just kind of ignores it. He then sees ancient cave paintings that showed kaijus that look like him, but not completely. And they're being worshipped by the humans. But then Heisei Goji sees something in particular. He sees weird-looking giant humanoid creatures with weird-looking axes. At first, Heisei Goji thinks they're just humans, but bigger. But then when he sees a skull of the Titanus Kong, he realizes what he's looking at. He's looking at a new species of kaiju he's never seen before. For some reason, Heisei Goji has this burning hatred. He has like a burning hatred in his heart. And he doesn't know why. But for some reason, he has a personal grudge against the Kongs. Instead of ordering all the kaiju go in hibernation, he gives off a new order. In order to find the primate kaiju and report it back to him. Luckily enough, Rodan was just flying around in the sky and happens to come across Skull Island and sees Kong. Rodan gives off a little cry, and Godzilla hears it. Heisei Goji then orders all the kaiju to go straight to Skull Island.